Have you ever met someone who appeared perfectly reasonable, composed, well-mannered, even generous, yet left you with a strange sense of unease? What if the true danger in people isn't found in explosive tempers or overt hostility, but in something far more subtle? Carl Jung, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist, believed that one particular trait, often hidden in plain sight, marks the most dangerous kind of person. It's not the trait we instinctively fear, like aggression or dishonesty. In fact, this danger often wears the quiet mask of calm, control, and even charm. That's precisely why it can go unnoticed until it's too late. Today, we're going to explore Jung's deep psychological insights and uncover the warning sign you should never ignore. By the end, you might start seeing certain people in a completely different light. To understand Jung's warning, we need to start with how he saw the human mind. Jung believed that every person wears a mask, he called a social persona, designed to help us function in the external world. We put on this mask when we go to work, meet new people, or navigate social situations. It's the version of ourselves we want others to see. But behind that mask lies something much deeper, the unconscious. This is a vast territory filled with instincts, suppressed feelings, and what Jung called universal archetypes. And within this hidden realm lives one of the most important parts of our psyche, what Jung called the shadow. The shadow is the collection of all the traits we reject in ourselves. Think of it as a psychological storage unit, where we stuff everything we don't want to acknowledge about who we are. Jung believed this shadow isn't created by society alone. It emerges from the tension between who we naturally are and who we believe we must be to survive and be loved. As children, we quickly learn what gets approval and what doesn't. We absorb messages about what's acceptable, lovable, or worthy of praise. Traits that don't fit those messages, like vulnerability, anger, ambition, or even independence, get quietly buried. Over time, we come to identify only with the parts of ourselves that earned approval, while disowning everything else. But here's the crucial point. The disowned parts don't disappear. They wait. They linger beneath the surface, shaping our reactions, choices, and perceptions in ways we don't even recognize. This silent influence is what makes the shadow so powerful and so dangerous when left unexplored. What makes the shadow particularly tricky is that it's not inherently evil. It's simply unacknowledged. It contains our impulses, our envy, our fears, and even our suppressed talents and creative potential. But when these parts of ourselves are not faced honestly, they become distorted. People who deny their shadow often end up projecting it onto others, blaming the world for the very things they refuse to confront within themselves. Jung saw this as a psychological time bomb waiting to go off. Now, let's look at what happens when someone ignores or completely represses their shadow. When a person denies their darker impulses, those feelings don't just vanish into thin air. Instead, they retreat into the unconscious, gathering energy and waiting for their moment to surface. Jung warned us with this chilling phrase, "What is not made conscious will be lived out as fate." In other words, the more we refuse to see our flaws, the more those flaws end up controlling us from behind the scenes. The unconscious doesn't simply store these repressed impulses like files in a cabinet. It transforms them. Jung saw the unconscious not as a passive container, but as an active, shaping force. When parts of the self are denied, they don't just lie there dormant. They mutate, seeking expression through indirect and often destructive channels. The longer we ignore these signals from our shadow, the more they escalate. Sometimes this shows up as emotional outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere. Other times, it leaks through sarcasm, the need to control others, or subtle acts of cruelty that we mask as concern or helpfulness. These people often don't understand why they sabotage relationships or feel chronically dissatisfied with life. But the root is always the same, a shadow that's been left unacknowledged. This dynamic becomes especially dangerous when it's coupled with something Jung considered even more insidious: moral superiority. The people Jung warned us about most weren't the openly hostile or violent ones. They were those who believed they were entirely good. When someone sees themselves as morally pure, spiritually elevated, or fundamentally righteous, they often lose the ability to reflect honestly on their own behavior. What makes moral superiority so treacherous is its immunity to self-criticism. People convinced of their own goodness will justify manipulation as help, control as protection, and even cruelty as tough love. Their actions may look ethical on the surface, but beneath them lies a hidden agenda, the desperate avoidance of their own shadow. Jung believed that the more someone clings to an identity of virtue, the more likely they are to unconsciously act out its opposite, precisely because they've buried any awareness that it exists within them. They become walking contradictions, unable to see the gap between their self-image and their actual impact on others. Think about it. We've all encountered these people. The boss who claims to care about team morale while systematically undermining confidence. The friend who insists they're just being honest while delivering cutting remarks. The family member who believes they're helping while controlling every aspect of your decisions. They genuinely see themselves as the good guy in every story, which makes them incredibly dangerous to be around. So, what connects all of these patterns? What is the invisible thread running through these dangerous behaviors? According to Carl Jung, the most dangerous sign in a person is the complete absence of shadow awareness. When someone refuses to admit their own capacity for wrongdoing, when they see themselves as incapable of anger, cruelty, or deception, they become truly unpredictable. Here's the paradox that Jung discovered. It's not the presence of darkness that makes someone dangerous. It's the denial of it. People who recognize their flaws are often more trustworthy because they're aware of their potential to cause harm and take steps to avoid it. They can catch themselves before they hurt others. They can apologize authentically when they mess up. They can grow and change because they acknowledge there's room for improvement. But those who believe they have no shadow are blind to their own behavior. They justify everything, rationalize anything, and leave a wake of confusion and hurt behind them, never understanding the role they played. In Jung's view, this isn't just a psychological flaw, it's a form of spiritual blindness that disconnects them from their own humanity. These people are dangerous because they're unpredictable. When you can't see your own capacity for harm, you can't control it. When you believe you're always right, you stop questioning your motives. When you think you're incapable of causing pain, you stop being careful with other people's hearts and minds. So the next time you meet someone who insists they're always kind, always moral, always in the right, pause. Pay attention to that subtle sense of unease you might feel. Ask yourself, what are they not seeing in themselves? What shadow are they refusing to acknowledge? The answer might just protect you from becoming collateral damage in their unconscious war against their own denied darkness. Jung's insight reminds us that true safety doesn't come from avoiding people with obvious flaws. It comes from recognizing those who refuse to admit they have any flaws at all. Because in the end, we're all capable of both light and shadow. The difference between the trustworthy and the dangerous isn't the absence of darkness. It's the courage to face it. If you found value in this, please share it with someone who keeps bumping into the same patterns. And if you want more videos that expand your mind and explore the deeper layers of psychology, consciousness, and self-discovery, subscribe to ThinkDeep and turn on notifications, because the truth is, your situation is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the version of you that's been waiting to live.